Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we hark back to 2020. 1 year into the production run of the Audemars Piguet CODE 11.59, AP decided to switch things up with new gradient fade lacquer dials that add the missing dimension to 2019's CODE 11.59 dress watch series. So this is the CODE 11.59 chronograph with a lovely lacquered blue gradient dial in a rose gold case. 41 millimeters in diameter, it is 12.7 millimeters thick, it is 50 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and has a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you note two things. First, it's a broad watch and a large dress timepiece, so I recommend it for a wrist no smaller than 15 centimeters in circumference. Again, my wrist is 16. You can see the lugs are pushing out toward the edge. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting close. The other thing you'll notice is that it's thinner than you expect. At 12.7 millimeters, this is a watch that can still fit underneath the cuff, even though it's very sheer of profile. The watch has a strap that is a navy blue, large rectangular scale alligator leather. It is bolstered to give it thickness and volume. It has a folded edge, the monotone stitch on both sides, with the underside being small round scale alligator. So the point of having gator on both sides is that it makes for a more durable strap. And as you can see, this is an Audemars Piguet factory double alligator strap. The buckle is specific to the model. As you can see, it features a little nod to the royal oak as the screws fixing the buckle to the strap are hexagonal, and you can see that the buckle uses a combination of polish and satin. Now you will note that this watch has not been refinished, so it retains all of its original factory metal. It has not been dulled by the refinisher's wheel. That also means it is imperfect, as there are some marks from screwdrivers sizing the strap, presumably removing to place a new strap on at some point, or to put on an aftermarket strap for the original owner's pleasure. We have replaced that here with a factory strap. Just note, at some point some marks were made and the watch will be delivered accordingly. The watch is impressively constructed, as a lot of what was lost in the initial online photographs comes across in person. So this is how the watch was generally photographed in 2019, and the gradient dials didn't come until a year later, so it looked flat and it looked a little bit monotonous. Here, anything but, with the warmth of this lovely 4N rose gold. It looks almost like red gold. You can see that the lugs are open, airy, and evacuated. Again, we have those hexagonal bolts, a nod to the bolts in the bezel of a royal oak. If you look carefully, you can see that the mid case is actually a rounded octagon, another nod to the royal oak. There's a lot of beveling and polishing, a polished bevel on the bezel, a polished bevel on the case back. You can see that there's polishing flanking the center case, and then we have these little micro bevels on the sides of the lugs, which are quite attractive. We have them both inside and outside. If you look carefully on the interface of the lugs, you'll see that polished bevel there too. The timepiece, of course, featuring primarily satin finished, contrast with the polished highlights. We have a crown featuring both polish and satin here with an AP logo outboard. Rectangular pushers, you can see they also feature a little bevel on their edges, though they're primarily satinated. We have a lacquered rayout, which is the tachymeter. The rayout is a little sort of ring that encircles a dial. It's usually something that is deeper than a chapter ring. That's usually the distinction that's made. We have little polished rose gold chapter rings around each of the sub-registers. Now, the tachymeter can be used for gauging the speed of an object, such as a car on a racetrack. With base 1000, you will be gauging the speed of something moving very quickly, unless you're good with mental decimals. So it is a nearly black navy blue lacquer. It fades, and you can see it's very light at the center, almost cobalt blue. We have applique numeral, indices, Audemars Piguet logo, and the hands have a wonderful curvature or loft over their center. They have a height, not just a length and a width, which gives them a three-dimensional quality characteristic of the best independent watch brands, something you expect on a much lower volume watch. Now, one feature I have always appreciated about the CODE 11.59, I'll demonstrate it right here, is that the watch has a special typeface that was created specifically for the model. If you look at the 2 on the date wheel, you'll note it matches the 2 on the sub-registers and the 2 on the tachymeter. So there's a beautiful consistency of art design here. We also have a flyback function for the chronograph, so you reset and restart without first stopping. That's a wonderful feature that wasn't well advertised when this model launched. It used the then new caliber 4401 chronograph movement that has since found its way to the Royal Oaks and the offshores. We have hacking seconds, and as you saw earlier, we also have that quick set date mechanism. So if you want to quick set your date, you can easily do so. Enjoy all of those unique numerals created specifically for this model by Audemars Piguet. The dial has a rich multi-layer lacquer, a combination of color and clear coat applied and buffed, and of course all applique rose gold hour indices. The movement visible on the case back, automatic winding with ceramic rotor bearings. There are some upgrades over previous Audemars Piguet chronograph calibers. Compared to the old Frederic Piguet 1185, this is upgraded in every way. Even compared to the modular movement used in the offshores, the 3126 with the DD module, that combination of 3126 and Dubois de Praz module lacked the presence and the tech specs you get here. What do I mean by presence? I mean this is 32 millimeters in diameter, whereas the old 3126 was 26.6 millimeters in diameter, so this better fills the case back. We now get a 70-hour power reserve, automatic winding. We get a higher beat rate as those older movements featured 6 beats per second. This one is 8, and thus potentially more accurate and shock tolerant. As you can see, we have a column wheel that's black polished that makes for crisp actuation. We also have a vertical clutch, and if you look underneath my finger, you can actually see the vertical clutch in action with the very subtle movements engaging and arresting the vertical clutch. Normally, vertical clutches are not visible. This one is. The watch is 30 meters water resistant, so it's not an aquatic sports watch, but it has the architecture of a sports watch movement since this was designed to be used in the offshores, so it has that higher beat rate. It also has a free-sprung Gyromax style balance with a full balance bridge for better impact tolerance. Now, the thing about the vertical clutch is it allows you to start the chronograph without any jump to the seconds hand, and it allows you to run the chronograph full-time if you want without any additional hazard wear or tear to the watch. The winding system is both fairly shock tolerant and efficient as it uses a winding rotor bearing and ceramic bearings. The rotor is beautiful as it features polish and satination, plus mirror beveling outside and inside, and if you look carefully, the inner bevels meet and form sharp cleft marks or interior angles which are very difficult to finish, and the rotor is by far the most obviously hand-finished component of this movement, a 40 joule movement that admittedly combines both manual finishing and hand finishing in a judicious blend that is price appropriate. It is a good-looking movement. You will not be disappointed by the standard of finish. However, this watch is all about the ravishing combination of blue and red gold. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.